Hello, Cheerios. That's my new word for fans of Cheers to Business. This is Johnny Gwin, and I am still in the guest hosting chair for Karen Simmons. She is spending much needed time with her family. And boy, am I excited about today's guest. We have the co-host of the Insurance Guys podcast, Bradley Flowers, on today to talk about one of the most important things for your company to not only survive, but to thrive.
Hello, Cheers to Business listeners. I'm Ashley Smith, Vice President of Wholesale Pharmacy for DocRx. With over 10 years of experience helping doctors and their patients with diagnostic tests, patient monitoring, medical supplies, compliance, wholesale pharmacy, physician, dispensing, billing, and much more. DocRx is your patient and health compliance solution, both under one roof, and always with the mission of the patient's health first. To find out how DocRx can help you, your hospital, pharmacy, physician's offices, and any PPE you need for your businesses, please visit us at docrx.com.
So the way I explain it to people is we're definitely a tech-forward insurance agency.
Right.
It's kind of frowned on in the industry to say you're a tech company that happens to sell insurance.
Right.
We use a ton of technology, not to replace the human element or replace the relationship, but to enhance it. So by using these technologies, it allows us to be in front of a lot of our customers more often with less effort on our end. So be willing to communicate with your customers the way that they want to communicate. How do they want to do things? And we're going to work our way backwards. The way the insurance industry has always done it is, Mr. Client, here's how we do business, get used to it. So it's 100% let's back the customer as long as the customer's in the right. But for the most part, it's like, hey, what's best for our customer? And that's what we're going to do.
While we all in business want to grow new customers, sometimes we forget our most valuable resource is our existing customers. Acquiring a new customer can cost 5 times more than retaining an existing customer. Increasing customer retention by 5% can increase profits from 25 to 95%. The success rate of selling to a customer you already have is 60 to 70%, while the success rate of selling to a new customer is 5 to 20%. Bottom line, it is essential to keep your current customers serviced, satisfied, and surprised. So Bradley Flowers today is going to give us some real-world examples, some great technology, and some amazing insights into connecting you to your existing customers and keeping your existing customers connected to your business, its growth, and its success.
Hey, I'm Karen. I'm a former CPA, entrepreneur, business consultant with big ideas.
Welcome to Cheers to Business.
Bradley Flowers, welcome to Deep Fried Studios.
Thank you for having me. I think this is my 3rd time on Cheers to Business.
Yes, it is. It is. This show is 140 episodes in. It's not quite.
She's in the thick of it.
Not quite as many episodes as the Insurance Guys podcast, which you are one half of the dynamic duo of the Insurance Guys podcast.
She's catching up.
You are in the insurance business. I am sure you have what's called a book of business. Is that correct? Thousands. Again, big pot of people. Mm-hmm. I would imagine the insurance business has a lot to do with pricing.
Volume.
Pricing and volume. So love your customers. What I heard you say on your Insurance Guys podcast was, I can make myself different by something I can control. I can't control pricing sometime, but I can control the way that I connect and deal with my customer base. And how do you start out by doing that?
So the very first thing is to recognize in our industry is to, and a lot of industries that are more commoditized, not that I think insurance is a commodity, but it definitely is commoditized by
there's lots
the
of apples,
Geicos of the world and folks like that. And the first thing when you're in that business is recognizing that you're selling pretty much the exact same product as the guy or gal down the street. Mm-hmm. And we tell that to our customers, our potential new customers. Say, look, we're all selling the same products. What you need to find is you need to find somebody that you like, somebody that you want to do business with, and somebody that makes it easy to do business with.
I would think trust would be a big part of that too.
I think all those things together equal trust.
Right.
And so that's the first thing, is just recognizing that. Secondly, the way that we do it, and it's not for everybody, it's not for every customer, but we get their crap handled. We understand that you don't want to come in the office and sit down for an hour and a half and talk about your insurance.
Yes.
You tell me what you want to do, we handle it. I kind of look at it similar to the attorney-client relationship. or the CPA client relationship, you don't expect your CPA to explain every tax law to you.
Yeah, it'd be impossible.
You give them your paperwork, you pay them your money, and they act in your best interest. So those are the people that I want to deal with that just want to trust me and understand that we're going to handle it.
So you're more than just selling. You are
Yeah.
a valuable consultant and expert.
We buy our customers time
Correct.
because they don't have to come in and sit down and listen to a 45-minute pitch about life insurance.
But it also goes as simple as because you do a lot of marketing, Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
You are known for your marketing, social media, which sometimes can feel a little cold, by the way, because social media is for everybody a lot.
Yep.
But you talk a lot about the personal connection with your customers, face to face, right? How important are like those happy birthday phone calls and things like that to your customers?
So the way I explain it to people is we're definitely a tech-forward insurance agency.
Right.
It's kind of frowned on in the industry to say you're a tech company that happens to sell insurance.
Right.
Because when you say that, insurance companies can look at you in a negative light. But that's kind of what we are. I mean, we're a technology first.
But you're also you're a boutique-y,
Well,
smaller
yeah.
company. You don't have 1,000 people working for you.
Correct.
You have a small team.
Correct. We have 8.
8 people with
8.
thousands of customers.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so the way I explain it to people is we use a ton of technology not to replace the human element or replace the relationship, but to enhance it. We're heavily centered upon text message. A lot of our customers text us. They don't know that when they text Natasha that it's going to everybody in the office, and that Natasha may not be the one handling it, but they have that personal connection because they're texting Natasha or they're texting me, right?
So it's a contact point.
It's a contact point. And so by using these technologies, it allows us to be in front of a lot of our customers more often with less effort on our end. So what that does, and it's so to allude kind of to go back to what you were saying in the beginning, yes, you have to grow your business and you have to market and you have to push for growth.
I'm not saying forget that.
You have to push for growth. One of, I think, our biggest advantages compared to a lot of agencies here in Mobile is we're still growing organically and still pushing for new business, where a lot of these folks they're just taking this account that they've had for 20 years and swapping it from this company to this company. Whereas we're pushing for new business, and every carrier rep that we deal with will tell you that. So you have to do that. You have to push for new business, but you have to leave the back door closed.
What's the back door?
The people that are leaving your agency.
Oh,
the people that are saying, hey, I'm leaving you for Geico. Okay?
Right.
You have to have both.
Front door's
it would
open,
be like,
but the back door's got a lock.
It would be like Nick Saban starting college football season in a couple weeks and not having a defense. Yeah, you might win some, but you're not going to win.
I like that. So
you have to have both.
Lead generation is a lot of offense, but keeping your base of people is a lot of defense.
Very sexy
I love
to say.
that.
It's very sexy to say. In insurance industry, we like to get in industry groups on Facebook and brag about how much production we're writing. But if 80% of it's going out the back, even 10% of it's going out the back door. I mean, so if let's say you've got a book of business that's generating you $500,000 in gross revenue, okay, which is modest by today's standards. Okay, let's say it's generating you $500,000 in revenue, okay, and you improve your retention by 10%, because you're always going to lose some. You're never going to be perfect. But if you improve your retention by 10%, that's $50,000 in gross revenue.
That's a lot.
There's not many new employees, many producers, many salespeople that you're going to hire that are going to bring on $50,000 in revenue in a year. Yeah. And that's just in 1 year. So what you have to look at is you have to have both. It's very easy to rest on your laurels and say, we're just going to take care of the customers we have and not grow. And it's also very easy to say, hey, we're going to push for new business, but the back door is wide open.
Right.
You have to have both.
And you probably have to have, I would think, someone sitting at the top of either the sales side or the business side, keeping probably pretty good data on what is happening with incoming and outgoing.
Yep. So we have a guy named Kenneth who's probably the most detail oriented. Nothing gets past him.
It's a spreadsheet man.
I probably should have a different nickname for him, but he's kind of the ball catcher. Like, he doesn't let any balls drop.
Nice.
And he sends me a report every Tuesday and Thursday of what's going on in the agency. We have a Slack channel for that. Hey, this account's coming up. This is what's going on with it. This is good. This is good. This is good. This is so from a 30,000 foot view, we can kind of monitor everything that's going on. And not to pat ourselves on the back, but our retention number is 98.7%. So of all the business we write, we're only losing less than 2%, and it's because of that and the team around him.
What's the industry average?
Probably 80.
80.
If you ask people, they're probably going to tell you, oh, well, we're 85, 88, but it's probably 80 if I had to guess.
So they call that the people leaving the churn rate, right?
Correct.
You're churning people out, and you have to watch that because also, and I would think you'd have to kind of like learn to use. I mean, these are really good indicators of you have a very low churn rate. If it went up to 7 or 8%, you'd probably say, "What the heck what happened?" And then it could show you early on how to fix something in your company. I would think not just a bad thing; it's kind of a good thing as an indicator to fix something.
You're exactly right. And at the same time, we make it extremely easy to leave our agency. We don't put up a fight. If you have your insurance with me, and then a year from now you're shopping and you find a better rate somewhere, I'm going to do my due diligence and I'm going to say, hey, send me a copy of what you got.
Yeah.
If it's better than what I can offer you, I'll tell you. But by all means, leave, because if you make it super easy for people to leave and well, let's come in and have a meeting and I'm going to hard sell you on staying and we're the best and we're that, you're never going to come back.
This is what you and Scott were talking about on that show that I said. This is a show. This is a whole show right here. I think you said, or Scott said, that you want to tell you who's never coming back to you, when they're telling you you're leaving and you just become defensive and say,
get your feelings hurt.
That's the biggest mistake you ever made. You think they're ever coming back? Hell no, they're not coming back. And that is a very interesting way of saying, I'm going to make it easier for you to leave me, which most people would probably cringe as a business owner to say that. But I get why, because I'm playing the long game, not the short game. You're playing the long game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Another tool that we use that we may have talked about on the show, we use and we're a new customer there. It's only like 2 months, called Arius Analytics. Mm-hmm. So the way I describe it is, for most people listening to this, you probably have a CRM or some sort of database, right? Well, you go into that CRM and you pull reports. Okay, they all have some kind of reporting feature, right? I can go into my CRM on my phone right now and pull a production report. Well, that's past data, right? That's stuff that's already happened,
right?
Okay, which is good because the past can be an indication of what's happened in the future. But if you think about it this way, the board, you may have heard me say this before, but the board at the roulette table?
Right, that shows you
all the past numbers?
Yeah, all the past winners.
I don't know the exact percentage, but did you know the casino's profits on roulette went up like 78% when they implemented the board?
Because you think
people are playing the board. The past, while it can be a good indication, it has no direct correlation with what's going to happen in the future. So this Arius Analytics tool uses big data, and it uses data that we provide them on our customer base, and it predicts what our customers are going to need and do next. Stuff like that. So it'll tell me 3 things that help us with customer retention. One is it will do an analysis of accounts, and it will indicate, hey, this customer does not have this thing. So let's say that you're a business owner. We do a lot of business owners, and you don't have cyber liability, which is something every business should have.
Yes.
It'll ping me and it'll say, hey, Johnny Convenience Store does not have cyber liability. And so it gives us an opportunity to reach out to them and fill a need, add a product, and the more products a customer has, the higher their retention percentage is. So it does that. The second thing it does is it pulls in that big data from these sources, and it will give us things that our customers are interested in.
So it's not instructions, it's more like a roadmap.
It's a roadmap.
Yeah.
And so an example I give is a customer the other day, it said he was interested in cigars. One of my guilty pleasures happens to be a solid cigar. And so we're able to connect over that.
Right.
And I'm calling him and we're talking about nothing but cigars.
Now, would someone think that's manipulative?
Maybe, but the data's out there.
But also, if you're into something, I'll talk to anybody.
If it says they're into My Little Pony and I'm not into My Little Pony, I'm not going to call them and talk about My Little Pony, right? So there's that. And then the big thing is there's a metric that they have. It's called the centimeter. It's a 0 to 100, how happy that customer is.
Happy with your service.
With us, yeah. So what it does is it takes all the data points from our CRM, that everything that happens on that customer's account.
Yeah.
Along with transcribing our phone calls and factoring in triggering words. So if they're on a phone call and they say something like cancel or upset, it'll factor that into the centimeter, and the centimeter will go up and down, and we can look at a 70,000-foot view of the centimeter for each client. And if it dropped, we can pinpoint the thing that made it go down, and what we can do is we can say, hey, everybody that's under a 50, we're going to love on today, and we're going to call them and just tell them how much we appreciate them.
Which is identify your customers,
Yeah.
and especially identify your VIP customers, and
Correct.
identify the ones that you need to, hey, we need to reach out and say hello to.
And sorry to go on a tangent on that, but I
No,
think
no,
that's
but no,
important
it
of how
led
we're
into
using
that.
technology to enhance our
And
relationships.
I can imagine this is not cheap,
Oh, it's not, no.
but I can also imagine how someone says you can almost not afford not to have
Correct.
this. Okay, just making sure. Second thing is, this is very important.
And we're using the full Monty. There's features.
You can buy modules of it.
There's features that, you don't have to have the big data piece.
Yeah.
And so forth.
Okay, so number one, identify your customers. That means the ones that love on you and the ones that are, let me see where I am right now. You got to know that, but that's also any relationship, right? Are me and my girlfriend in a good place right now?
Yeah.
Or do I need to hey, we need to
Correct.
reconnect? Okay.
Correct.
This is important. Once I did this, is huge. Determine the lifetime value of a customer. That means when the minute this sounds awful, so hold on before I sound too cold like a robot. When you put value to something, say someone gave you a comic book 10 years ago and you don't, oh yeah, I used to like Spider-Man, but then somewhere along the way you found out that Spider-Man comic is worth $1,100. Well, you take that thing out of that drawer, you put that in a Kevlar bag, and you put that somewhere because now we understand money value. Well, when you look at a client or a set of clients and you see, if I make these people happy over 10 years, it is X amount of dollars. That's going to make you relook at a lot of when it gets tough to have to connect or have to also eat a little humble pie.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
And so it's kind of like, people will reach out to us sometimes and they have some oddball thing they need us to do, right? Like maybe they need a workers' comp policy that they're having issues with, but they want to keep all their other policies at another agency, okay? And there's situations that will do that. And that's really actually not a great example. A better example would be, hey, my insurance on my house is renewing next month. I want to move it to you, but the house is currently on the market. So I'm going to have a policy for 1 month. And kind of the way I explain it to people, we're just straight up. We're very transparent with people. We're about to alter our company core values and add transparency in there. But my margins don't work for you to keep a policy 1 month.
But you don't turn down that person because of what they possibly could be.
Correct. That's the piece that some agents get wrong. My dad had a real bad experience 20 years ago with an agent that he still talks about. People never forget how you make them feel. So what it was is my dad needed a workers' comp policy, and he goes to this agent, and who is not a bad agent, but he goes to this agent and he's like, hey, I need workers' comp. And he said, the guy said, okay, well, in order to do your workers' comp, I have to have everything else. And he was like, well, I just want you to do my workers' comp. And he's like, I don't make any money on workers' comp, which is true. The workers' comp, by itself, you don't make any money on it, and it's a lot of work. And my dad was really offended because he was like, I'm not, he took a hard stance. I think a better way to do that is, hey, look, here's the deal. I don't make much money on workers' comp.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do this to help you out, but I want a shot at everything else when you get a chance. And that's the way that we do it,
Radical transparency.
And what you just did is you literally just made money to pick up a really good lead. Is what you did.
Showed up in your office. And you know how expensive leads are.
So what you have to you have to have that feeling of transparency with your customers, but at the same time, you also can't be out there writing, bringing on customers that are going to be unprofitable. One thing I look at is the cost of service. So every single time my phone rings for somebody that needs service, it costs me $35.
You have already sat down with yourself and your operation saying,
and you can do this in any business.
This is what time and resources, expenses cost me, so I've got to make sure I'm doing things that bring me the most return.
Correct. So the way you factor this, any business can do this. You take the total cost of service. So service team member salaries and any technology that you use to service that client. Anything you're paying for to service that client. Not overhead, not office or anything like that. Anything to service that client.
Interesting.
And then you divide that by the number of service tasks that were done, say, last year. And that comes up with your cost of service. And ours is probably a little lower than that, but it's about $35. So therefore, if your average customer is going to call in and need something 4 times a year, all of a sudden it doesn't make sense to bring on that account that's going to be $150 in revenues. You're making $10. Not to mention you're paying somebody commission on it, so now you're in the hole.
Yeah, I actually had a person in the ad agency world who much more years than I did. He said, Johnny, be very careful you're not working to have a staff. Meaning you're not bringing in enough revenue, and all you're doing is adding more revenue to be able to have a staff. And that's something again, knowing what it costs to be in that seat for a minute, for an hour, for a week, for a month. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but you got to be in the ballpark.
Yeah. And it's something that a lot of people, especially non-business owners, don't get.
Yes.
You know, they look at Mr. or Miss Business Owner that's, oh, well, we made $100,000 on this account. Well, they don't see the $98,000 in expenses that go right back out the back door. You know, we deal with a lot of contractor insurance, and that's a big thing with contractors. You know, a lot of times their margins are so paper thin, not right now, obviously, but they're so paper thin that it's like, yeah, this job it's a $10,000 roof, but the roofer only made $1,500, which may sound like a lot of money, but by the time you divide out the hours that you put into that, it's like I made minimum wage, you know?
All right, so number 3 step for loving on your customer, determine what keeps your customers coming back. How do you do that? Do you do surveys? I'm sure you talk to a lot of them, and you have that system in place. Do you do straight surveys?
We don't. It's something. I'm a big believer in NPS. We just haven't gotten to the point.
Hold on, what's NPS?
NPS is Net Promoter Score. So it's the
NPS.
NPS,
okay.
Yeah. Likelihood that customer is going to promote you to their friends.
Oh, that's smart.
Big believer in that. The last thing I want to do is add more tech that doesn't integrate, which has more problems for my team. So we haven't found a good tool that seamlessly integrates with our system to do that. What we do is, upon us bringing on your account, we do send a request for a survey, which then goes to a Google review that kind of tells us how the experience was. Beyond that, we are in the process, literally right now, of implementing a system that every single time we touch your account, it's going to send you a message that's like, hey, how was your experience?
Please tell us how we did. Which
Correct.
I noticed the bigger companies immediately do that. AT&T, Verizon, Best Buy, anybody.
Correct.
Which is
And
smart.
our way of doing that right now is every single time someone is upset, if the situation's not handled and done and they're good, I'm notified about it and we're monitoring it. We're on top of it. We have a week.
How do you encourage people to do it when they're happy? I would rather they would probably be more likely to do it if they were angry.
That's what I
want
to know. I want to know if people are angry, not happy.
okay.
Not happy, yeah. So we have a weekly meeting with our leadership
So those
team.
numbers could be skewed, though. You got to be very careful with that.
You can. We have a weekly meeting with our leadership team. We have a specific agenda every week, and the third thing we talk about is customer headlines, and that's like who's upset and all that good stuff.
I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead to
I just got a 5-star Google review as we're
fantastic.
sitting here.
Well, that's another question for you. Do you monitor social media for your name and for your company name?
Not as well as I probably should.
It's hard to do, man.
Well, so we started a marketing agency for insurance agents.
And what's that called?
Plimsoll Media.
That's right.
So it's a Plimsoll, which was Johnny's
yes.
idea. So we started that. We've got 13 clients that we essentially are doing content creation, distribution, strategy
it's
for.
very niche for insurance agents.
It's only insurance agents. We'll do some real estate if they want it, but mostly insurance. And we'll do if you're like a local business owner in the mobile area, we'll actually do free video work.
That's great.
We'll do like one video for you.
Contact Bradley Flowers at Portal Insurance.
Yeah. So we brought on these 13 clients, and I have a media team that works on that, and it's been 90% good. We've had some struggles. And so all of our efforts from a marketing standpoint has gone to let's get all these clients situated and let's focus on, and my social media has taken a backseat. But yeah, absolutely. We monitor social media. I mean, you're not going to reach out to any of our pages or any of my pages on social media and not get a response, no matter what you want. So I think that's super important. And it really frustrates me when I see businesses that are like, hey, please don't message us on here. We don't monitor this. And I'm like, I mean, even if you don't have somebody monitoring it, there's plenty of tools out there that allow you to monitor that.
That's almost
somehow.
as rude as my voicemail that says I'm not going to answer
I
this.
love your voicemail. Due to an outrageous number of cold calls.
I don't know what list I got on, but it's awful.
Yeah.
And so I'm sorry, people. Text me or email me. I will get immediately right back to you, but do not call me.
So it's important to monitor that. And one thing I saw is like there was a police station that was like, hey, please don't message us on here. And I'm like, I mean, I get
That's a public service, too.
I get that you need to be calling 911 if it's an emergency, but like, be willing to communicate with your customers the way that they want to communicate.
That's funny you say customers for a police.
They're customers.
Well,
like, they're your boss.
That's a mindset. That is a great mindset.
So be willing to communicate with them the way that you want to communicate, the way that they want to communicate.
People that listen right there, that is a very, very important lesson in this. You communicate with your audience how they want to be communicated with.
And see, we use text. And I had a carrier rep that was very old school that was in my office 2 weeks ago that was questioning a lot of things, one of those. And
this is a vendor. This is not a customer.
These
a
all
provider
of our insurance carriers, we have a rep that's kind of like our contact to the home office or to the company, liaison. And she was in the office and she was like, well, what do you do if you get somebody that doesn't text? And I was like, well, if I'm communicating via text message and I'm targeting people who don't want to text, that's a bad business move. So what we look for is we look for triggering things. We have a list of a few things, like if you don't do one of these things, we don't write. If you don't do these things, we don't write you. We don't bring you on. But then I told her, it's like, you'd be shocked at how many grandmas text message. And they're not going to tell you that that's their preferred way of communication, but when it comes down to it, that's their preferred way of communication. I'm not saying if you call the office, somebody's not going to answer. We're probably one of the only agencies in mobility. If you call us after 5, somebody might answer. But and if you want to do business that way, that's fine. The one customer that we really don't want is the customer that is going to come in the office every single month to pay their bill, pay in cash.
Yeah,
we don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't do that. If somebody comes in our office, we think we're getting robbed. It's not you're not going to get the best experience.
And
that
for
way.
a year, they came in with a mask, so you had no idea.
Yeah.
Another step: tools and automate. I just heard process. Have processes in place. Damn it. Okay. Train your team. How do you train your team to think this way? Because they're not the business owner. They don't think like you do. How do you train them to care?
Our hiring process for a startup is very excruciating.
Okay.
We
So
turn down
hire
we turn down,
slow, fire fast.
Yeah, we turn down, as cliche as that is. So my hiring process is you apply online. No matter if you're my buddy or how you reach out, I have a form you go to. You fill that form out. When you hit submit, it sends it to me, and then it sends you an automated email that's like, hey, here's the email portion of our interview. And it's an email interview. And
So you're vetting as you go.
It's 3 questions.
Yeah.
Okay. The 3 questions, there's one question that if they answer it a certain way, I don't even respond back. They're out of the loop. I'm not going to say what it is, but they're completely out of loop. Then they have to reply to that email and put something in the subject line that's a specific word that shows me they can follow directions.
Yeah.
Not saying one of my mentors, Mike Stromso, whose name I'm sure you know,
Yes,
he
very
won't
much
even.
so.
I got that from him. He won't even open the email if you don't do it exactly right. I'll still open it because I'm not great at following directions. But so we look at that, and then after that, we schedule a phone interview. Phone interview is 15 minutes, and it's just, hey, tell me about yourself. Okay, bye.
Gotcha.
And then after that, we do an in-person interview. The in-person interview is with me. That's usually about 20 minutes. After that, I do a personality test, and I use a personality test that
Which, by the way, ain't free.
It's not free. It's $200, but it sends me a report back that's 68 pages.
And that goes down to how this person works and how they will work in your culture.
It tells me things that you don't know about you.
Interesting. Do you share that with the person that comes in?
Yeah. There's some pages I'll take out. So, like, for example, the last 10 pages, which to me is the most valuable part, is it tells you what questions to ask them during the interview. But it doesn't tell you, it tells you what to look for. It doesn't say, ask this question
good,
and this
man.
is the answer you should get. It's like, here's the question, this is what you should look for.
That's
Do their
good.
eyes crawl and that sort of thing. So it's like that detail. And what I'm looking for is, are you going to be a good fit in the role? Are you going to clash with me? And how are you going to fit in with the other team members?
Dadgum, that's awesome. I've got to keep going here.
Let me do the last one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
last one,
And so the last step is we do a team interview that is the most scripted thing you'll ever see me do. We have a list of questions, and literally it says, Natasha asked this, Bradley asked this. And we go through, and it's like boom, 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 like clockwork. When they walk out the door, if it's not unanimous, we don't hire them.
That feels like when you used to go to colleges for that big. Do you get in college or not?
So it's we highly vet people on the front
I
end
see it.
in hopes that they're going to fit in, and then usually if they don't, we don't hire them. And then the flip side of that is the fastest way to be shown the door is to not buy in, and
A problem.
Yeah.
I got you, man. So you vet on the front end. I'm sure there's training in place because that happens, but it's smart. You bring in and I think you've said this before, I hire on aptitude, not on experience, because I can train you. Yeah, that's a great. I love that.
People
I
with
love
experience
that.
come with a lot of baggage.
Well, yeah, when I went to graphic design school, I had no background at all. They let me on probation, and they said, "We love people like you." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You are a clean sponge." And I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, these people that went to college and learned from all these people who haven't had a job in 20 years, they are so dirty with these wrong ideas. We have to clean them out and then make them a sponge again." I'm like, very interesting. I thought I was coming way behind, and they're saying, "No, you're way ahead in how we teach here." So we talked about this. No matter all the technology, you still keep a human touch. You keep doing that, and then create process. And I would imagine the last thing is, no matter what you do with your process, I'm sure you're still listening to those customers and your staff every day.
You've got to. So
Yep.
the ethos behind our agency and our processes is let's figure out who our target customer is, VIP client. Let's figure out who our target customer is. How do they want to do things? And we're going to work our way backwards.
Nice.
The way the insurance industry has always done it is, Mr. Client, here's how we do business. Get used to it.
Wow.
And
So you're coming from the client first, not from the product first or the industry first. And like you said, when you started Portal, that was a groundbreaking statement to say.
Maybe. And we don't get me wrong, we still combat that because we have carriers that want to do business in an old school way. But our thing is the way we operate, we're going to start with the customer, we're going to work our way backwards.
Yeah.
A good example I give is right after we started the company, I wrote policy through a carrier for a client, and the carrier did it was a homeowner's policy. All carriers are going to do an inspection, which is like a walk around to make sure the house is what we said it was. And it had an oak tree overhanging it. Not touching, just overhanging. And the carrier was going to cancel them. And the rep for that carrier happened to come by my office. And I was complaining about this situation. I was like, this is so dumb. Like, this is a 100-year-old oak tree, da-da-da-da. And she said, well, why don't you see if the client is willing to cut it down? And I said, my client's not going to conform to you. You're going to conform to my client,
He's looking for answers.
or we're going to put them somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not used to hearing that. And that's another reason why we're not a part of any franchises.
You're independent.
There's these franchises that we could have been a part of that would have accelerated our growth, but it doesn't allow us to be 100% customer first, because if I'm a part of a franchise, I can't have that hard conversation with that carrier rep and not get a phone call say, hey, tone it down a little bit. So it's 100% let's back the customer as long as the customer's in the right. Yeah. And I mean, there's some situations where like somebody's trying to do something shady, but for the most part, it's like, hey, what's best for our customer, and that's what we're going to do.
Dang.
And that means that goes back to like maybe it's not a good fit. You know, if they're wanting us to do something we can't do, I'm like, hey, you'd be better off. You know.
But I think knowing you're that transparency of like, I'd love to do this, but this just isn't a good fit for. We don't have the right product for you. And I would think you'd get on the phone and say, I'm going to send you to somebody because, like you said, down the road, 5 years, because you helped that person out, they might be at your store for something you can match them with. All right.
Be the resource, yeah.
Okay, look, we got to end this. And Bradley, I know there's so much wealth of knowledge from you. And look, people, if you are looking for an entertaining, wonderful podcast about business and marketing and keeping your customers and finding new customers, check out the Insurance Guys podcast with Scott Howell and Bradley Flowers.
That's right.
Bradley, if people want to know more about you and Portal Insurance, what is the easiest way?
Give us a call, 251-264-3232, or you can text us at that number. You can also text me at 251-237-9383. Hit us up on Facebook. Just freaking search Portal Insurance and you will find.
Is it portalinsurance.com?
It is now portalinsurance.com.
Oh, all right.
I just bought the domain.
Fantastic.
GoDaddy tried to swindle me. But just Google Portal Insurance will come up, and you'll find a way that tickles your fancy enough to reach out to us. So,
he's in the show on a cheers, and I'm going to add the last step in loving on your customers that we didn't add here, but I'll put it in our cheers. Cheers to the business owner that can manage expectations and over delivers.
There you go. We're not
Bradley,
drinking wine at 11 a.m.
We're not drinking wine, even though I would love to have a job where I could just do this all day and just get drunk with my friends and put out great information. Bradley, we really appreciate all this information. And will you end us on a great cheers, please?
Here's to podcasting.
Fantastic. And also here's to Karen Simmons. Cheers to you. We love you and we miss you. And she will be back soon. Everybody, I think I'm using the word Cheerios now. Hey, all you Cheerios out there, thanks for watching. And we really appreciate it. And Bradley, thanks for coming in today. You've been great.
Thanks for having me.
See everybody. We will talk to you next week.
Please be sure to subscribe to Cheers to Business podcast on iTunes or anywhere else that you get your podcast. Visit our Facebook and be sure to give us a like. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss, shoot us an email from the website cheerstobusiness.com.